Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wait, What? Why? The podcast that ponders the origins behind the things that we do. Thank you for taking the time to join us today as we discuss the origins of April Fool's Day. I'm Nicole Gallagher.
And I'm Dennis Gallagher.
How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good, honey. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
Hanging in there.
Excellent.
We are pushing in. We're recording the day before we're supposed to be released, so I have a lot of work ahead of me tonight, but
I'm going to try to do it so you don't have very many edits.
Excellent.
I'm going to be on my A game today.
I love that.
No promises, but that's what I'm going for.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All is well. We are talking about April Fool's Day today. It'll be, when this comes out, it'll be a week from Friday until April Fool's. Any stories you have? Any April Fool's pranks you've played or been played on you?
Not played or been played on me necessarily. One of the biggest April Fool's Day jokes I can remember, I talked with you about this a little bit offline, is there were a couple of shock jocks on the radio in Boston, and they stepped over the line and got fired. They reported like a live bulletin or a news update that said that former Mayor Menino had been killed in Florida. He was mayor of Boston at the time, and it was completely bunk. Well, people didn't think that was very funny at all in the blowback. They ended up losing their job and getting kicked off the air. But I fell victim to that, so I guess I can say that I was, working in the Boston area, and I heard it on the radio, and I was just shocked. He was a very popular mayor for the city, and they said he had been killed in, Florida on vacation, and it was like, holy, no way, man, Menino died, and it was some hours before it kind of, came up that I found out anyways that it was false, and I was like, no way they did that. Oh, yes, they did. And no one really thought it was that funny at the end of the day. So,
people thinking someone's dying really isn't that funny.
But I don't know that I don't know that I've had any pranks, necessarily pulled on me. I'm not a huge prankster, but no, I can't think of any. What about you?
Not a lot. I was trying to really think about, because I have students, and I always like dread April Fool's Day on school days. I'm like, please come on a
they're
weekend.
all little jokers. Yeah.
Well, they're not really. I think they're afraid to get in trouble, so it really hasn't been. I think one good one I had one year, and the students actually talked to a coworker of mine just to make sure it would be okay, and they took all their cell phones and they hid them all around my classroom, and they would set it on the cricket ringtone.
Oh, so it was making cricket sounds.
So there were cricket sounds all over my classroom, which was pretty funny.
That's pretty good. And that's coordinated, which
that
makes
was
it even more impressive.
Yeah. It was pretty funny, and it was harmless. It was just, funny. And then I think another time I came in and all the desks were backwards, and I think one time my teacher desk was backwards, and everything was reverse of what it should be.
That's cool. I like that.
That was another good one.
I mean, it should be playful and fun. It certainly shouldn't be, what I gave a story about. Yeah. That sounds cool, though, turning around desks and stuff like that. That's awesome.
And then our daughters got us good one year. I don't know if you remember. They got me good one year.
I don't.
And
I don't
I
recall.
just popped into my memory. I was thinking about it, I think yesterday morning, and I was like, oh, I remember that. I was so mad. I got up for work, and I went to the kitchen sink to do something. And
I do remember. I do.
And we had the sink that we had at the time had a regular faucet, and then it had the sprayer thing that was off to the side where you'd had the hose, and you'd pick it up and you'd press the button and spray the dishes or whatever, or clean whatever it was. And I went to get a glass of water or fill the coffee pot. I don't even remember what it was. And they had tied a rubber band around
that's a great
the
prank.
button on the sprayer. So as soon as I turned on the water, it was spraying all over me. And I was half shocked, because it was right in the morning. And I was what is going on? And I was so mad. And then I was like, that's pretty funny, actually. When you think about
I do
it.
remember that now that you said that.
But I was super pissed when it first happened, because I was soaked. And it was spraying all over the place, and I just wasn't awake enough to realize what was happening.
Right. Some of the pranks, that's a funny one too. Kind of
that was funny.
Some pranks, that you hear about just aren't funny. The saran wrap over the toilet seat.
Oh, God, no.
Imagine being the poor person that falls victim to that one.
I know.
Geez. So, yeah, some of them are funny, but not very nice at all, for sure.
I can't think of any other ones, but that was by far the best. It shocked me.
Yeah, and I can see that.
I'm pretty sure it's happened more than once to me too, and I'm always a victim because I was always the first one up in the morning and the first one to bed at night, so they can plan it.
Yeah, no, that's a good one, no doubt. I don't know. I have no idea the agenda of this conversation, but oddly enough, my mother's birthday is on April Fool's Day also, and so every day for years, and I don't do it anymore because it's not funny anymore. But for years, I would call her up and say happy birthday and sing happy birthday to her, and then be like, April Fool's. I don't think she really appreciated that.
No.
But
it's going to be hard to be an April Fool's baby.
She never really seemed to mind it.
No?
Although she was a teacher too, so I bet you she got some double whammy, from the kids
Birthday
back
breaks.
then. Yeah, there's no missing that it's her birthday and it's April Fool's Day, and I'm sure my mom got her share of ribbon, but
so
it
I
never
don't
seemed
know.
to bother her. So
Does your mom listen to our podcast?
I don't think she does.
Well, just in case she listens to this one, happy birthday, Evie.
Shout out, Mom. Happy birthday. April Fool's.
Oh, man.
Still funny to me.
Mean.
Still funny to me.
Oh, man.
It's all about me. So that's that. I know there's some classic ones out there. I don't know if you have that as far as, you research it all, but and some of them are crummy and some of them are super funny.
I was actually, looking into the origins behind a few things a few topics I've been looking up. It's really hard to find find topics that either have a really shocking background or a lot of information. I feel like there's either a whole lot of information or there's very little information and no one really knows. And then, as I was saying earlier in the week, as I was researching different topics, sometimes I feel like I'm tired of relating everything back to the pagan times and how Christianity, affected it, and that's why we celebrate it today. So for our listeners out there, I'm going to be mixing it up in the future and trying to do some little off the cuff kind of things, like when we talked about tailgating and skiing and some other options that aren't necessarily holiday related. But for today, we're going to stick with April Fool's.
Cool.
Which is not religiously related at all.
Well, I can't wait to find out what it is.
Kinda.
You should backpedal.
Sorry, not really.
Oh, okay.
But so I ready to dig in?
Yeah, I can't wait to find out.
All right, so obviously April Fool's Day takes place on April 1st. A lot of mystery behind where the origins came from. No conclusive evidence really at all. So I'm just going to kind of talk about a couple of different theories and then some practices around the world, and then get into some good top 10 April Fool's pranks in media.
Oh, there you go.
Which kind of goes along with your...
Yeah. Well, media has so much more of a stretch or an impact. You can reach so many more people.
So one theory, which seems to be the most popular, is that the day April Fool's Day came along when we switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. So with the Julian calendar, the new year was the spring equinox, which is right around April 1st. And then with the Gregorian calendar, the new year was switched to January 1st. But it was said that the switch, when this calendar switch happened, it took, change is hard. So it took people a while to kind of get used to, wait a minute, the new year isn't in April, it's January. It didn't really happen very quickly. And so people were still celebrating the new year on April 1st or around the spring equinox and would be made fun of because, they weren't following the new calendar, so they were fools.
Ah, there it is.
April Fools because they were celebrating the wrong New Year.
Right.
So that's one theory behind it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Another theory was that here we go. This is why I backtracked earlier. April Fools was related to a Roman festival called Hilaria. I think the Romans had a festival for everything.
They
right?
did. They were partying.
Tell me that's not related to, like, hilarious.
Of course it is.
Hilaria.
Sure.
But when I looked up the word, because I was expecting it to say, taken from the word hilarious, or hilarious comes from, this celebration of Hilaria, it said it's Latin for joyful.
Yeah, well, which it is. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Hilarious.
So this festival usually took place at the end of March by followers of the cult of Cybele. So according to Britannica.com, there were several days in the festival of Cybele that honored Attis. And Attis, it's Attis. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that was her son and her lover. Some specific dates in this particular one were March 15th, which are the Ides of March, right?
Yep.
Ides of March. He was found by Cybele among the reeds on the bank of the river Gallus. So that was the mother found her son/lover in the reeds. On March 22nd, celebrated or is, remembered for his self-mutilation.
Oh, geez.
And on March 24th was a fasting and a mourning day of his death. And then March 25th would be Hilaria, the celebration of Hilaria, which would rejoice his resurrection. Some of the activities, according to some of the historians in Britannica.com, so that some of the festivities of Hilaria resembled some things that would happen on April Fool's Day. So I guess playing pranks on people and rejoicing and finding it funny.
Okay. Similarities to the way they celebrated.
So that's a,
Meh.
again,
Meh.
yeah.
Okay.
The other one, and I believe this especially for us in the Northeast here, another theory is that April Fool's Day is based on the vernal equinox or the first day of spring in the Northern Hemisphere. And it is said that Mother Nature would fool people with her unpredictable weather.
She sure does.
So
She sure does.
for those of us, we had that big April Fool's Day storm.
Yeah, a blizzard.
The blizzard.
April Fool's Day blizzard.
Yeah,
Yep.
It was terrible.
It was terrible.
I don't remember the year of that, but yeah.
Yeah, you're supposed to be clear of those storms by April 1st.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. So
I mean, the snow didn't last, but that was horrible.
I'm trying to remember how much snow there was.
Oh, no, there
it
was
was
like
well over a foot.
Yeah,
I feel like
18
it was
inches here or
very
something like that.
fluffy, a lot of snow, and yeah, it was pretty big.
Yeah, they pretty much put all the plow trucks on mothballs for the season, and we'd put away our snowblower, and then Mother Nature played an April Fool's trick.
April Fools.
Yes,
So
she did.
I thought that was kind of neat that Mother Nature was the one fooling people.
Yep.
Anyway, those are the couple of theories that I found about the origins behind it.
Okay.
But there were some, with the traditions that go behind it, the playing pranks on people is kind of funny. So it varies depending on where you are from in the world. So we'll start off with Europe, of course. So it was in Great Britain, Scotland, and Ireland. Playing pranks is fair game until noon on April 1st. After that, decorum must again be observed.
Yeah, we have to get some work
Was
done
the
at some
rules.
point, right?
Anyone who plays a prank after noon is considered a fool. And even the news media gets into the celebration by publishing hoax articles. Some people will even drive on the wrong side of the road, according to some of the things I found. Like, anything's kind of game as long as it happens before noon.
Holy mackerel, that sounds a little scary.
And I don't know. I mean, if anyone out there is listening from those areas, is that still a thing? Like, I don't know. Do people do that?
I don't know, but the police must not be too happy if folks are driving on the other side of the road.
Is it like the purge? Like anything goes?
Anything goes until noontime?
Until noon, as long as it, just kidding.
Right.
I don't know.
Wow.
In Scotland, I found this to be very interesting, actually. In Scotland, it became a 2-day event. The first day is the hunting of the Gowk. I'm probably saying this wrong, but it's Gowk. The Gowk is a cuckoo bird, or otherwise known as a fool, and people will play pranks and tell lies to try to catch each other in embarrassing situations. And again, according to tradition in Scotland, people had to stop playing these pranks by midday. The second day is Tally Day. I found 2 different spellings. One was Talie, like tail,
Yeah,
Taily.
that's weird, yep.
And the other one was Tally, like Tally Day. But basically it's like butt pranks. Like people would like pin the tail on the donkey kind of stuff. So they would like fake pin tails on people's butts or put kick me signs on them. And that was the second day of the April Fool's 2-day thing. There was an article from 1990, which I always feel like that wasn't that long ago, but it's dated now.
Sure.
But in this article, it was the Aberdeen Press and Journal had an article in December of 1990 that described the activity as it was still known and practiced. Tally Day, or Taily Day, is April 2nd, when children in Crocaldy pin tails to other people's backs and with messages such as, kick me hard because I'm soft.
Oh, my word.
And I just found that to be amusing.
As long as you're not the one that gets kicked hard.
Well, you got to be smarter than to let someone pin something on you. You got to be quick.
Yes.
Ninja skills.
That's right. Eyes in the back of your head.
In France, the same story holds true, but started to include more pranks. One such prank was called, here we go with my French accent. You ready? Poisson de Avril. I don't know what I'm saying.
I just say it.
I don't know how. I'm trying to remember The Little Mermaid when the little crab is singing and the cook is singing and talking about trying to kill the crab.
The fish.
What was that called?
Crab. I don't know.
All right, ready? I'm gonna look it up.
We're looking it up. We're using the Google machine. We're cheating.
Poisson d'avril.
What are we saying?
Les poissons.
Oh, les poissons.
Les poissons.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember it now.
Okay, so thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, why can't I think of this? Anyway, Poisson d'avril.
Okay.
It means April fish.
April fish.
April fish.
Oh, so there's the connection. Jeez, I didn't know what you were going with that.
It took me.
Yeah, you
That
danced
just
around
took
that pretty
a
good.
long
Yeah.
time to circle back.
I
All
could
right.
try to have you back, babe, but
So,
geez.
Poisson d'avril.
Okay.
That sounded pretty good.
April fish.
April fish. And that included, I don't know why this is done in France, but it includes putting paper fish on the backs of people. Oh. The meaning being that they were young, easily caught fish or gullible.
Okay.
You're easy to catch off guard,
and
I guess.
fool, yeah.
Yeah. I read that now people take pictures of fish on unusual places and post them on social media as part of that like newer advanced technology,
It's
but
the
still
evolution of it.
yes. In India, the Holi festival begins on March 31st, HOLI. Festival begins on March 31st and is marked by playing jokes, throwing colored dust, wearing face and body paint. And it is known as the Festival of Colors or the Festival of Love, and it lasts a night and a day. It celebrates the arrival of spring and is a day to laugh, joke, and to repair relationships through forgiveness. Anyone is fair game to be drenched in color, men or women, young or old. It reminded me of a color run, like they'd just be throwing like colored powder at people in the streets.
Yep.
And then in Brazil, the day is called Dia da Mentira, which translates to Day of the Lie.
Okay.
That makes sense, right?
Sure.
News outlets would create and post absurd stories, and individuals tell whopping stories to their friends. We have Poland. In Poland on April Fool's Day, sophisticated hoaxes are often coordinated efforts involving individuals, media, and public institutions. And it was said in Poland on April 1st, people can doubt anything that is said at all, because nothing will be real.
Wow. The press and the media and everyone gets involved in Poland, huh?
Nothing. Take everything with a grain of salt, I guess.
That is awesome.
And then in Iran, this will be the last one, and then I'll kind of get into the other stuff. Sidza Badar is celebrated on the 13th of the new year on the Persian calendar. This day often falls on April 1st, and Iranians have celebrated the day with fellowship, pranks, and jokes since 536 BC, making it the oldest tradition for celebrating April Fool's Day.
Wow. No kidding. Ah, the Persians, huh?
The Persians.
Shout out to my friend Mehdi. Hey.
So lots of different... I was just surprised, I guess, that it was celebrated all over the world. Like,
me
I
too.
was like, really? And I don't know why. I never I guess I never really thought too hard about April Fool's
Right,
Day or
right.
where it existed or why we do it, but I guess I found it weird that people all over the world do it. So, I don't know. That was kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
that is. It's cool. I didn't know that either.
So, I found a website that is the top 100 April Fool's Day hoaxes of all time.
That's a lot.
So I thought I'd go with the top 10.
There you go. Narrow it down.
We could just talk about the top 10 all-time hoaxes. And this is from hoaxes.org, which is, it talks about April Fool's jokes. And it's mostly in media and all over the world. Yes?
Yes.
You ready?
Sure. Bring it.
All right. So we'll start with number 10 and then count down.
Okay.
So the number 10 on this particular list is Nixon for president in 1992. NPR, National Public Radio's Talk of the Nation program, reported that former President Richard Nixon had declared his candidacy for the Republican presidential nomination. Accompanying the announcement were audio clips of Nixon delivering his candidacy speech and declaring, "I never did anything wrong, and I won't do it again."
Jeez.
Harvard professor Lawrence Tribe and Newsweek reporter Howard Feynman then came on air to offer their analysis of Nixon's decision and its possible impact on the 1992 presidential race. A clip from Tory Clark, press secretary of the Bush Quayle campaign, was also played, in which she said, "We are stunned and think it's an obvious attempt by Nixon to upstage our foreign policy announcement today." Listeners reacted emotionally to the announcement, flooding NPR with calls expressing shock and outrage. Only during the second half of the program did host John Hockenberry reveal that the announcement had been an April Fool's Day joke, and comedian Rich Little had impersonated Nixon's voice.
Oh, it was Rich Little who did the
Yeah.
voice. How cool is that? I was going to say, Nixon was he even alive in 92? He must have been. It would have been funny, right? Yeah,
but
no.
he, gosh,
I mean, he was not
older.
going to be a candidate for president. Wow.
I found that to be very funny. And it just, for our listeners' sake, I'm just reading this as it's written off of this website. So that was number 10, Nixon for president. Number 9 was Sid Finch. So now we're going back to April 1st, 1985. Sports Illustrated published an article by George Plimpton that described an incredible rookie baseball player who was training at the Mets camp in St. Petersburg, Florida. The player was named Sid Finch, Sid being short for Siddhartha, the Indian mystic in Herman Hesse's book of the same name. He could reportedly pitch a baseball at 168 miles per hour with pinpoint accuracy. The fastest previous recorded speed for a pitch was 103 miles per hour.
It still probably is somewhere in that area. It's not 168.
No, I wouldn't know, but I believe you.
Wow.
Finch, Plimpton reported, had never played baseball before. He had been raised in an English orphanage before he was adopted by the archaeologist Francis White Finch, who was later killed in an airplane crash in the Dhaulagiri mountain region of Nepal. Finch had briefly attended Harvard before he headed to Tibet, where he learned the teachings of the great poet Saint Lama Milarepa and mastered Siddhi, namely the yogic mastery of mind-body. Through his Tibetan mind-body mastery, Finch had learned the art of the pitch. Finch showed up at the Mets camp in Florida and so impressed their manager that he was invited to attend training camp. When pitching, he looked, in the words of the catcher, like a pretzel gone loony. Finch frequently wore a hiking boot on his right foot while pitching, his other foot being bare. His speed and power were so great that the catcher would only hear a small sound, a little piff, piff, boom, before the ball would land in his glove, knocking him 2 or 3 feet back. One of the players declared that it was not humanly possible to hit Finch's pitches. Unfortunately for the Mets, Finch had not yet decided whether to commit himself to a career as a baseball player or to pursue a career as a French horn player. He told the Mets management that he would let them know his decision on April 1st.
That's quite the yarn.
So in response to this article that was published in Sports Illustrated, they received almost 2,000 letters, and it became one of their most famous stories ever. On April 8th, a week later, they declared that Finch had held a press conference in which he said that he had lost the accuracy needed to throw his fastball and would therefore not be pursuing a career with the Mets. On April 15th, they admitted the story was a hoax.
2 weeks they let it go, though.
They let it go for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then they did another, April 8th, they published another thing saying that he said he lost his pitch. So George Plimpton actually left an obscure hint that the story was a hoax within the article itself. The non-obscure hint being that the story was absurd. The subheading of the article read, "He's a pitcher, part yogi and part recluse. Impressively liberated from our opulent lifestyle. Sid's deciding about yoga and his fortune in baseball." So if you took the first letter of each of those words in the title, it spells Happy April Fool's Day.
Oh, my goodness. You got to be kidding me. No one caught that.
No, that's way too much effort. Way too many letters. Yeah, that's crazy.
I would have loved to see a guy throw the ball that fast. That would have been unbelievable. That's
is
probably why they kept it going so long. People were like, I want to see that.
You got to feel bad, though. If you're getting thousands of letters, you must at some point be like, all right, we got to tell them,
Well, what do they say? Any
what's
press is
going
good
on.
press, right? Even
right.
bad press.
And then they did that other fake story, which probably amped it up even more, and then came out and was like, just kidding.
And that's 1985, you said, right?
1985.
Yeah, well, the Mets were very good that year because I'm pretty sure that's the year they beat the Sox, 85-86 for the World Series. It might have been 86-87. But they had a fine team back then, bottom line.
I love that you know all this.
Oh, well, sorry. Good.
I know.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone listened to it. What was it? What was it? We did one episode where I talked about your amazing knowledge of sports facts and how dumbfounded I am that you remember all of those weird sports statistics.
Yeah, I could be like an accomplished engineer, solving world problems, but unfortunately I remember that stuff. So yay me.
Yay, me
It's
too.
the tortures of being a sports fan, ever since I knew what it was, I liked it. And yeah, I pay attention to that stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess so.
All right, number 8. UFO lands in London.
No, this one's true.
It is. Well, we'll see. This is 1989. On March 31st, 1989, British policemen were sent to investigate a glowing flying saucer that had settled down in a field in Surrey. As the policemen approached the craft with their truncheons held out, a door opened in the bottom of the ship and a small figure wearing a silver spacesuit walked out. The policemen immediately took off in the opposite direction. That's valid. The alien turned out to be a midget, and the flying saucer was a hot air balloon that had been specially built to look like a UFO by Richard Branson, the 36-year-old chairman of Virgin Records.
I can believe it from Branson. I can. That doesn't surprise me now that they say that.
Oh, man.
Because he's a bit of a kook anyways, right?
I don't know.
No, he is. Believe me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What
This
do you
guy,
know?
he's jumped out of every plane and climbed every mountain, and he's a quirky dude. Very successful, but very quirky dude.
I never heard of him.
Never heard of Richard Branson?
No.
Okay. That's the heat. It's not even sports related.
No, I know. You're just full of information.
Bring in content here. That's right.
Bring in the knowledge.
Bring in the knowledge. That didn't contribute at all, but thank you very much.
Well, I think it does.
Sure.
He's a background knowledge. All right, so Branson had taken off in the balloon the day before, planning to land in London's Hyde Park on April 1st. However, a wind change had blown him down a day early in the Surrey field. The police had received a flood of phone calls from scared motorists using roadside emergency phones as the balloon passed over the highway. One lady reportedly called a radio station to describe the UFO that she was looking at, not realizing that she was standing in front of her window stark naked.
Oh, no.
One of the policemen who had to approach the craft later admitted, "I have never been so scared in 20 years of being a policeman." And there's actually pictures of, here, I'll let you look at that, pictures of what the hot air balloon looked like.
It looks like a UFO. It looks like a cartoony UFO, no doubt.
It does.
Yeah, I can see that being something that Branson would do.
That's crazy.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So that was number, what did I say? That was number 8?
7 or 8? 8.
That was number 8. All right. So number 7 is the Taco Liberty Bell.
Taco Liberty Bell.
I'm going to stop just for a second to say I've looked all of these over, and there's very few that I actually remember hearing about in the news. Have you heard of any of these yet?
No.
So I'm curious to know if any of the listeners have ever heard of any of these or remember the story about this, because I honestly do not remember a lot of them. But number 7 is the Taco Liberty Bell. This is from April 1st, 1996. A full-page ad appeared in 6 major American newspapers: the Philadelphia Inquirer, the New York Times, Washington Post, Chicago Tribune, Dallas Morning News, and USA Today, announcing that the fast food chain Taco Bell had purchased the Liberty Bell. The full text of the ad read, quote, "Taco Bell buys the Liberty Bell. In an effort to help the national debt, Taco Bell is pleased to announce that we have agreed to purchase the Liberty Bell, one of our country's most historic treasures. It will now be called the Taco Liberty Bell and will still be accessible to the American public for viewing. While some may find this controversial, we hope our move will prompt other corporations to take similar action to do their part to reduce the country's debt." End quote of the ad. In a separate press release, Taco Bell explained that the Liberty Bell would divide its time between Philadelphia and the Taco Bell headquarters in Irvine. It compared the purchase to the adoption of highways by corporations. Taco Bell argued that it was simply going one step further by purchasing one of the country's greatest historic treasures. The company boasted, "Taco Bell's heritage and imagery have revolved around the symbolism of the bell. Now we've got the crown jewel of bells."
They really take it, to great lengths, some of these things.
That's impressive.
And that's written as though you would believe it.
Yeah.
You'd be like, just dumbfounded. I would be dumbfounded.
I would be like,
what,
are you kidding?
They bought the Liberty Bell?
No. How does our country allow this to happen kind of thing? Like corporations.
Yeah. Oh, I go all Karen, sure. Go all Karen.
That was good.
Yeah,
that was good.
Yeah.
The response to this was huge, as you can imagine. Thousands of worried citizens called both Taco Bell's headquarters and the National Park Service in Philadelphia to find out if the bell had really been sold. Elaine Sevy, a Park Service spokeswoman, was quoted as saying, "We were shocked. We had no idea this was happening.
We didn't even know it was for sale.
We have just been getting hammered with phone calls from the public."
That's classic. This is my favorite one so far.
Yeah. Among those who are also called were staff aides of the offices of Bill Bradley and James Exon from Nebraska and New Jersey. So the senators from Nebraska and New Jersey.
Wow.
And it doesn't end there. This one goes on. This is a big deal. So the Philadelphia branch of the National Park Service arranged a mid-morning news conference to assure the public that the bell had not been sold. They said that the, quote, "the Liberty Bell is safe. It's not for sale."
It's not for sale.
End quote.
Nothing to see here.
In fact, the bell could not have been sold by the federal government, as the ad implied, because the federal government did not own the bell. It's the property of the city of Philadelphia.
I thought Ben Franklin owned it.
Right?
No?
I guess not. He owns a lot of things. The bifocals.
Yeah.
Everything.
I misremembered.
At noon on April 1st, Taco Bell issued a second press release in which they confessed to the hoax, describing it as the best joke of the day. The company also announced that it would donate $50,000 to the upkeep of the Liberty Bell. Way to go, Taco Bell. Way to rally. I bet you they weren't planning on that. That was just like to keep the peace.
The 50,000 afterwards? Yes, that's damage control.
Uh-oh.
Yes, that's damage control.
This cost us.
They sound pissed. We better donate some money. Yeah.
Even the White House got in on the joke that same day when Press Secretary Mike McCurry told reporters that as part of its ongoing privatization efforts, we will be doing a series of these. Ford Motor Company is joining today in an effort to refurbish the Lincoln Memorial. It will be the Lincoln Mercury Memorial.
That was the press secretary that said that?
Making
That's good.
jokes.
So we had a little fun.
All making jokes.
Yep.
So it goes on to say that the some of the people who called the Park Service or Taco Bell didn't realize the announcement was a joke. However, there were many critics who did realize it was a joke, but felt it was still in bad taste. So, pretty funny.
Yep, absolutely. I like that one.
That's a good one.
Yep.
Prank number 6, 1976. Planetary alignment decreases gravity. This one sounds good too. During an interview on BBC Radio 2 on the morning of April 1st, 1976, the British astronomer Patrick Moore announced that an extraordinary astronomical event was about to occur. At exactly 9:47 a.m., the planet Pluto would pass directly behind Jupiter in relation to the Earth. This rare alignment would mean that the combined gravitational force of the two planets would exert a stronger tidal pull, temporarily counteracting the Earth's own gravity and making people weigh less. Moore called this the Jovian-Plutonian gravitational effect. Moore told listeners that they would experience the phenomenon by jumping in the air at the precise moment the alignment occurred. If they did so, he promised, they would experience a strange floating sensation. At 9:47, Moore declared, "Jump, now!" A minute passed, and then the BBC switchboard lit up with dozens of people calling in to report that the experiment had worked.
Oh, placebo. Yeah, great.
A Dutch woman from Utrecht said that she and her husband had floated around the room together. Another caller claimed she had been seated around a table with 11 friends and that all of them, including the table, had begun to ascend. But not everyone was happy. One angry caller complained that he had risen from the ground so rapidly he hit his head on the ceiling and he wanted compensation. There's always that guy. Mm-hmm. That one, right? That's to ruin it for the rest of us.
Yep.
This is why we can't have nice things.
The one bad apple.
Moore's announcement was, of course, an April Fool's Day joke. It became one of the most celebrated April Fool's Day hoaxes of the late 20th century. However, it wasn't just a random joke. Moore intended it as a spoof of pseudoscientific astronomical theory that had recently been promoted in a book by John Gribben and Stephen Plageman called The Jupiter Effect. That was based on that book, I guess, right?
That was like a geeky, kind of a geeky April Fool's.
Yes.
They get the scientists involved. He's an astronomer, right? Astronomer.
So that's funny. I can totally picture somebody calling and being like,
saying they jumped up and banged their head on the ceiling. My husband and I
sue.
floated around the room. Are you kidding me?
Oh,
you call
man.
that acid. That's what that is. Right? That's not the Jupiter effect. It's the Pluto effect.
All right. What was that? 6? We're on number 5? We're halfway through?
Halfway through.
Oh, my goodness. All right. 1977, April 1st, sans serif. Would you say serif?
Sans serif? Sure.
Sans serif.
Don't try to coax me into helping you out with these things. One of us butchering those.
I feel like I'm really good at pronouncing things until I start doing this podcast. and I'm like, my brain glitches and I can't do it. So anyway.
Stage fright.
The British newspaper The Guardian published a 7-page special report about Sans Serif, a small republic located in the Indian Ocean consisting of several semicolon-shaped islands. A series of articles described the geography and culture of this obscure nation. The report generated a huge response. The Guardian's phones rang all day as readers sought more information about the idyllic holiday spot. However, Sans Serif did not actually exist. The report was an elaborate April Fool's Day joke, one with a typographical twist, since numerous details about the island alluded to printers' terminology. The success of this hoax is widely credited with inspiring the British media's enthusiasm for April foolery in subsequent years. Philip Davies, who was in charge of the Guardian's Special Reports Department, came up with the idea of an April Fool's Day feature about a fictitious island state. Special reports were sections of the paper occasionally given over to exploring a subject, such as country or a technology, in depth. Typically, the subjects were quite dull, but lucrative from a newspaper's point of view since they were designed to attract related advertising. Davies conceived of a special report about a fictitious island as a parody of the genre. He was later quoted as saying, "The Financial Times was always doing special reports on little countries I never heard of. I was thinking about April Fool's Day, 1977, and I thought, why don't we just make a country up?" So he approached the editors at The Guardian, and they embraced the concept. One of its great selling points was that not only would it be a funny joke, but also that it would be possible to get advertisers to play along. In other words, the spoof special report could make The Guardian a lot of money.
Money, money, money.
It all comes down to money. They went into detail. They talk about the culture of the fake island and the geography of the fake island. Like, they went
I think you gotta, it seems like the more detailed that they are, the more believable it kind of is, which makes my silly Boston radio story seem silly. These are involved. A lot of thought went into some of these things.
This is huge. It talks about, like in one part, it talks about the colonization. They were colonized by the Spanish and the Portuguese in the 15th century before being annexed by Britain in the 17th century. It goes on to talk about all of this culture and the geography of it and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, they wrote a regular little fiction book about these things,
And then, so it was a 7-page article. 4 out of the 7 pages was advertising. Advertisers included Guinness, who described how the sans serif version of their stout was upside down. Texaco, who offered racing fans a chance to win a vacation to sans serif's Cocoa Banana Beach.
Jeez.
Kodak, who ran a competition for the best photographs of sans serif. Vladivar Vodka, who ran an official greeting from the People's Republic of Warrington, where their drink was distilled. So they had all these fake ads to go along with this. This is huge. Yeah. This is why it's number 5, I guess, right?
Wow.
So I guess that this generated an enormous response. The Guardian reported that its phones rang all day as people called up requesting more information about the island. Later, hundreds of letters arrived. One of these was from a group calling itself the Sans Serif Liberation Front, who took the newspaper to task for the pro-government slant of its report. Ooh. So, let's see. It says, The Guardian also sold I've been to sans serif bumper stickers and 12,000 sans serif t-shirts.
That's awesome.
The success of the hoax is widely credited with inspiring the flood of April Fool's Day jokes that appeared in British newspapers in succeeding years. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a good one, too.
That was a good one. I can't believe the detail. Like, that could have been, like, I feel like we could have did a whole mini-sode on
well, there's tons
the
of information you didn't even share, right?
That's crazy. Top 10, we're at number 4, the Sydney Iceberg, April Fool's Day, 1978. On the morning, are you noticing that the further back they go, the better the jokes are? Like, the more elaborate the April Fool's Day jokes are?
Yeah.
All right, so on the morning of April 1st, 1978, a barge appeared in Sydney Harbor towing a giant iceberg. Sydney-siders, as residents of Sydney are known, were expecting it. Dick Smith, a local adventurer and millionaire businessman, had been loudly promoting his scheme to tow an iceberg from Antarctica for quite some time. Now he had apparently succeeded. Smith said that he was going to moor the iceberg near the Sydney Opera House and then carve the berg into small ice cubes, which he would then sell to the public for 10 cents each. These well-traveled cubes, fresh from the pure waters of Antarctica, were promised to improve the flavor of any drink they cooled. The cubes would be marketed under the brand name Dixicles.
Huh. Okay.
I just gotta say, I didn't pre-read any of this, and I'm dying.
Oh, okay.
I read like quick little quips, like summaries of it, but I did not see Dixicles, and I find that might be the name of this episode.
It might be. Wow.
As soon as the iceberg entered the harbor, phone calls started pouring into radio stations and newspapers, with people asking, "What's that in the harbor? It looks like an iceberg." Ferry skippers politely gave way for the slow-moving curiosity, christened the Dickenberg One. Excitedly, the entire city waited to catch a glimpse of the floating mountain of ice. People gathered along the shore to see it. Boaters who traveled out to meet the berg were given complimentary cubes. Then it began to rain. Is that they're showing pictures of the iceberg, and it literally looks like a tarp-covered
it does.
barge. Right?
Please tell me that's what it is.
The
a pile
water.
of dirt with,
That's what it says. Oh, listen to this. The water washed away the firefighting foam and shaving cream that the iceberg was really made of, exposing the white plastic sheets beneath. In this degraded condition, the Sydney Iceberg sailed proudly on, floating past the Opera House and city skyline. Boaters who now joined the procession were still given free cubes, though the cubes actually came from the onboard
beer refrigerator. That's great.
Oh,
that's a good
man.
prank, too.
So Dick Smith really did have a dream of towing an iceberg from Antarctica to Australia. He thought it would be a great way to provide fresh water for cities such as Adelaide, but most people told him it was a crazy idea. So one of his staff members suggested, why not just fake one for April Fool's Day?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love it.
Did.
No, the guy who covered the plastic tarps with
firefighting
foam
and shaving cream.
That's funny. That's effort. He must have been so mad when it started to rain.
Selling Dixicles.
Yes.
That just makes it even funnier.
It does.
All right, number 3, the eruption of Mount Edgecombe. 1974. That's a good year.
Yeah.
It's one of the best years around.
Allegedly.
Residents of Sitka, Alaska, woke on the morning of Monday, April 1st, 1974, to a bright, clear day. They could see right across Sitka Sound to Kruzof Island, where the familiar site of Mount Edgecombe, a volcano dormant for 400 years, loomed. But today, something was different about the view. A menacing plume of black smoke was rising from the crater. It looked like the volcano was preparing to blow. Concerned residents spilled out of their homes onto the streets to gaze up at the volcano. Calls poured in to local authorities. The Coast Guard commander radioed the admiral in Juneau, who ordered a chopper to be sent out to investigate. As the Coast Guard pilot approached Mount Edgecombe, the plume of smoke grew in size. Finally, he was right above it, and he peered down into the crater. At first, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. He looked more closely, and then he laughed. Stacked in the cone of the volcano, burning with a greasy flame, was a huge pile of old tires. And spray-painted in the snow beside the tires, in 50-foot-high black letters, were the words, April Fool.
No kidding. I mean, it's horrible they're burning the tires, but what a hoax.
Right? It goes on to say that the fake eruption of Mount Edgecombe was a work of a local prankster, a 50-year-old Oliver Porky, nicknamed Porky, Bicker. The idea to ignite the volcano had occurred to him in 1971. As soon as he thought of the idea, he knew he had to do it. So he collected 70 old tires that he kept in an airplane hangar. But he had to wait 3 years until April Fool's Day 1974 until the visibility conditions were just right for the prank. So he had been planning this for years.
He's dedicated.
Holding on to these tires.
Yeah. I don't know how he got the tires to the top of the volcano. That thing's massive.
When he woke that morning on April 1st, he looked out his window and could see right across the sound. So he looked at his wife, Patty, and said, I have to go do it today. She replied, just don't make an ass of yourself.
That's great. Great advice from the wife.
Let's see. He said, although Porky had prepared the tires, he hadn't arranged for a chopper pilot to fly the tires out to the crater. And this detail almost foiled his plan. The first 2 pilots he contracted refused to do it. But then he phoned Earl Walker in Petersburg, who agreed to come over as soon as the morning fog in his area cleared. Porky also secured the assistance of some friends, Harry Sulzer, Ken Stedman, and Larry Nelson. They were all part of a group calling itself the Dirty Dozen that used to meet every week for coffee and conversation at Revard's restaurant. As they prepared or waited for the chopper, they piled the tires into 2 large canvas slings, and soon the pilot arrived. They attached one of the slings to the hook on the bottom of the chopper. They also took along some smoke bombs, several gallons of gasoline, and some rags, and headed out to the crater. After the chopper dropped the first load of tires into the crater, Porky got out and began stomping the words April Fool into the snow as the chopper headed back for the second load. When the chopper returned, all the men piled the tires into a stack, lit them on fire, and headed home. So the reaction to this was beyond Porky's wildest dreams. It says the news of it got picked up by the Associated Press and ran in papers around the world. The reaction of the people in Sitka, once they realized the volcano wasn't really erupting, was almost uniformly positive. Even the Coast Guard wasn't too mad about the stunt. Porky met the Admiral years later at a 4th of July party. As the Admiral walked over to meet him, Porky was afraid he was going to get chewed out, but instead the Admiral told Porky that he thought his prank was classic.
It is classic. Like I said, besides burning the tires, I got no qualm with that at all. That's awesome. 1974,
I don't know if they knew much about,
I'm sure they knew.
All right, number 2 takes place in 1962, April 1st, 1962. It's called Instant Color TV. Sweden's most famous April Fool's Day hoax occurred at that time. SVT, Sveriges Television, was the only television channel in Sweden, and its broadcast was in black and white. The station announced that their technical expert, Kjell Stenson, was going to describe a process that would allow people to view color images on their existing black and white sets. The broadcast cut to Stenson sitting in front of a television set in studio. He began to explain how the process worked. His discussion was highly technical, going into details about the prismatic nature of light and the phenomenon of double-slit interference. But at last he arrived at the main point. Researchers, he said, had recently discovered that a fine mesh screen placed in front of a black and white television screen would cause the light to bend in such a way that it would appear as if the image was in color. Stenson told viewers they could experience the effect at home with the help of some simple, readily accessible materials. Nylon stockings, it turned out, were the perfect fabric to use as a fine mesh screen. So all the viewers had to do, Stenson said, was to cut open a pair of stockings, tape them over the screen of their television set. The image on the television should suddenly appear to be in color.
Oh, my word.
Stenson cautioned that the viewer would have to be seated at the correct distance from the screen in order to get the full effect. Also, it might be necessary to move your head very carefully back and forth in order to align the color spectrum.
Holy cow.
Thousands of viewers later admitted they had fallen for the hoax. Many Swedes today report that they remember their parents, their fathers in particular, rushing through the house trying to find nylon stockings to place over the TV set. SVT attempted its first color broadcast 4 years later in 1966. Regular color broadcasts were begun in Sweden on April 1st, 1970. So April Fool's Day was when they had their regular ones.
Nylons over the TV.
Move your head
and nylons
very
couldn't have been
carefully.
cheap either, so you're ruining nylons, putting them on the TV. That's a great story.
That's a good one. And then now we are to our number 1 hoax of all time in the media, the Swiss spaghetti harvest.
Okay.
On April 1st, 1957, a British news show, Panorama, broadcast a 3-minute segment about a bumper spaghetti harvest in southern Switzerland. The success of the crop was attributed both to an unusually mild winter and to the virtual disappearance of the spaghetti weevil. The audience heard Richard Dimbleby, the show's highly respected anchor, discussing the details of the spaghetti crop as they watched video footage of a Swiss family pulling pasta off spaghetti trees and placing it into baskets.
Holy cow again. Kidding me.
The segment concluded with the assurance that, quote, "For those who love this dish, there's nothing like real homegrown spaghetti." The Swiss spaghetti harvest hoax generated an enormous response. Hundreds of people phoned the BBC wanting to know how they could grow their own spaghetti tree. To this query, the BBC diplomatically replied, "Place a sprig of spaghetti in a tin of tomato sauce and hope for the best."
Just cross your fingers and hope for the best.
To this day, the Panorama broadcast remains one of the most famous and popular April Fool's Day hoaxes of all time. It is ranked number 1 in this site's list of top 100 April Fool's hoaxes of all time and is believed to be the first time the medium of television was used to stage an April Fool's Day hoax. That's pretty impressive.
I think it's funny. It seems like the older ones were rated higher. They're thought of as higher. And it's going to be at least to a certain extent because people didn't have access to very much information back then.
Right.
So if it was on the TV, it was true.
Everyone heard it.
Yeah, and it was true.
Yes,
I mean, that's what you got, or the newspaper or what have you. And, for these respected people to be going on and doing these, I can see where really fooling a lot of people.
Yeah, because like you said, like today, I don't know.
No, first thing you do would be grab your phone and look at, research things.
If something, research it, Snopes or whatever, check its validity, but people don't even do that now. They just kind of run with it. But it's not that everyone sees the same news anymore. Everyone has so many different information sources that what you see and read basically is customized to you based on your search and whatever, right? Sure. So we don't all see, back then, whatever you saw in the news is what every other person saw and heard
we all
on
saw
the news and read.
Yes. Yes.
And there was no data checking.
The news outlet there, the guy who said that it was going to go color, it was the only TV station, in Switzerland.
Right, yes.
This was in the whole country. Like, that's believable. You want to get people? It would be very hard to do that nowadays, to have that same impact.
And it's funny because, you do place trust in, the people that you see every day reporting the news to you every other day of the year, for all of your life. And then this one day they report something.
He pulls the rug out from underneath you.
And you're going to believe it.
That's kind of cool. Like I said, as they got older, they were ranked higher and they were more believable. They were funnier.
I agree. Yeah, they were
funny.
funnier. It went down it definitely
they got older and older, right?
Yeah.
It seems like the age of them would kind of keep getting older as they were ranked higher.
So that does it.
That's pretty cool.
We talked a lot today. Our podcast ran a little longer than is normally scheduled, but I didn't want to give up those fun, top 10 media facts, but you can check that out. We have all our sources are listed in our podcast notes, and you can check on or click onto those links and see what the other 90 different pranks were in media around the world. But
I still say I don't remember any of those. And none of them ring a bell at all.
Me either.
And some of them were in the 80s and early 90s, whatever, even mid 90s.
Yeah.
Which 96 one of them was.
Yeah.
Which I should remember, and I don't.
You would think,
all. Not at all.
So if anyone out there remembers that or wants to make a comment on your experience with any of them, or if you
had a better one,
or like you had something, some prank done to you or that you've done to somebody else, even if it's, a little scandalous, we'd love to
There's nothing wrong with a little scandal.
No, I think it's funny.
Scandal.
So that's it. Yeah, we want to hear from you. Reach out to us on social media. You can reach us on any social media at Wait What Why Pod. You can email us at waitwhatwhypod@gmail.com. You can always help support our podcast by rating us on Spotify, leaving a review on any of your podcast directories, or by becoming a patron. You can go to any of our social media sites and click on the link in the bio and become a patron of Wait What Why. There are a lot of little benefits to doing this, including some Wait What Why swag. And then I guess just a special shout out to Francis for doing our podcast artwork, and to all our listeners for your continued support.
Thank you so much. Shout out, Francis.
Yes, happy April Fool's Day.
Happy April Fool's Day.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Nana.
birthday, Mama Gallagher. That's right. Happy birthday.
And we will see you in 2 weeks.
All right. See you then. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.